Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to offer dana, then please do go to justthiszen.org/giving. Your support really does make a huge difference. Thank you so much.
I just got a little entranced then, just watching people coming in. So it's good to see everybody. So, and as people are still arriving, let's just sit together for 10 minutes. So let yourself take in the people who are here. And we're sitting together in our separate spaces. So please join me in saying the verse of the robe. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. It's good to be with you all again tonight, this morning, this evening, in all our different time zones. So thank you for being here. Last week, Josh was talking about befriending ourselves, and for some reason or other, I think it was various other conversations that I then had with other people, I kind of got really curious about thinking of ourselves as being special. There was something about this sense that for some of us, I imagine not everybody, but can have a certain kind of pervasiveness. And I know from some of my work in therapy and from my own process, it's a place that we can kind of get really tripped up in befriending ourselves. Some think about being special, not being special enough, all sorts of things, and it's clearly an issue for me. So quite a while ago I wrote a poem, so I was aware of the kind of thread of that in my life, and so the poem is, and the thing I'm referring to is a really visceral feeling. It's not like an idea, it's like an embodied longing. So the poem is, sometimes I can feel the most enormous pull to be the one. You know, the most special. I want my teacher, my loves, my friends to look at me, secretly, of course, as their special one. A sort of invisible tryst that, of course, in reality, I know they have with many others. Sometimes I want life to look at me as if I was utterly unique and special, which of course I am. But you know, don't you, that longing? And of course there will never be another me or another you. Yet the simplicity and reality of that fact slides by my need. How do I cherish myself as this profoundly ordinary, extraordinary expression of life that will never come again? And then accord each and every expression of this singularity, the cherishing and the specialness that I, we, you too long for. How do we accord each and every expression of this singularity? The cherishing, the specialness that I, we, you too long for. And I know it's an issue for me, and I know I'm probably not alone in it. There's a Lojong slogan that I've held quite close for quite a long time, which is don't expect applause. Why not? So there's a really curious feeling to that, don't expect applause, and it's been incredibly helpful to me. And then when I was teaching psychotherapy, Carl Rogers said, as human animals, as human social animals, we need unconditional positive regard. We need to be seen as and cherished and loved as special, just for ourselves, not for our talents or actions or capacities, just because we exist and just being born. We're here, and yet we're also born, many of us, longing to be special. And we can equate this with all sorts of things, with achievement, with role, with status, with money, and we can get really caught up in this conundrum that we have around, I think, a push and pull around specialness, visibility and invisibility. And the child psychotherapist Winnicott said, it's a joy to be hidden and a disaster not to be found. A joy to be hidden and a disaster not to be found. And for me, that kind of really also captures something about this. We kind of, the push-pull of wanting to be seen, not wanting to be seen, wanting to be special, and then I know that if someone tells me I'm special, I'm quite likely to do something weird with it. It's like little Teflon goes on or whatever. It's a really interesting phenomenon for me. And because I've had a lot of babies in my life recently, I'm so aware of the way that a baby looks at a caregiver, the way that the caregiver looks at the baby, that, the baby is looking to be special, is looking to be seen fully, and looks back adoringly when it's going well. And I think that it seems to me that it's such a human need to be seen in our particularity, in our specialness, in the way that we are here. And I've said to clients in the past, who are feeling real shame and mortification around what they perceive as their infantile need to be special, that if they can do it without being creepy, go to a children's park and watch children on play equipment. And mostly what you'll hear is, look at me, look at me, look at me. It's like we want to be seen. We are desperate to be seen. And this will make Josh laugh, but for years our granddaughter would insist, she used to stay with us quite often, and she would insist that we had admired her endless and completely fruitless attempts to do a handstand. She never achieved it, but she did it and we looked. And there was something about that kind of like just seeing that need to be seen for this little special activity, which she actually couldn't do. It was very funny. And we feel this need to be special, and not just to have to be special for doing something. Just being ourselves. So I've known this was a kind of thing for me for quite a long time. And when we lived in the ashram in the States, we were living either in downtown LA or upstate New York in the Catskills. We were part of the masses. We were so not special. We were, there could be 1,000 people there at the weekends. It was a huge thing, and we had very little place in it at all. But from the outside, from that place of not being special, we could really watch the kind of whirlpool of adherents, who spun around the guru, and we could see from where they were seated when he was giving a talk, how close to the epicenter of power they were, how special they were, and then you would see this movement going on around this kind of epicenter of power. And some evenings, one of the Sangha members would give a talk. Usually one of the inner circle would be asked to give a kind of a personal reflection. It wasn't exactly a Dharma talk. It was a personal reflection on their practice. And I don't remember that many of them. I was an exhausted breastfeeding mum at the time with very little sleep, so my memory is patchy anyway. But some of the talks really landed, and this was one of the talks that really landed for me. And it was a young man in somewhere in his 30s or something who'd been practicing with Muktananda for a long time. And gradually, as his practice has deepened and he'd gone to more and more retreats and hung around more and more, he'd been kind of ushered into this kind of much more inner circle, and he'd been asked to do more and more. And eventually he ended up driving the golf buggy that Muktananda drove around in and taking him his afternoon tea and generally having a pretty unlimited access. And hanging out, just being there. And he obviously deeply cherished that role. And then, without anything being said to him, he noticed that some of this privilege was kind of ebbing away. So he stopped taking him Bhuktananda his afternoon tea, and he stopped having daily contact with him, and he stopped driving the golf buggy until he was no longer in that whirlpool around the centre. And of course, it was deeply, deeply distressing to him, and he had sleepless nights, and he was like, did I do something wrong? Has the Guru seen something kind of evil in me? Am I a terrible person? Am I just a hopeless, is there no hope for me spiritually? And obviously it was devastating for him. And in the end, he couldn't stand it anymore, and he asked for a private interview with Muktananda. And he had to go through all the usual channels that all the other kind of regular devotees had to go through. He couldn't just turn up at his doorstep and ask him. So finally he got his scheduled meeting, and he shared, his dismay and his distress, and like, do you think there's something really wrong with me? Am I terrible? And then he ended up kind of blurting out, but I thought I was really special, which was the kind of crux of it for him. And Baba replied, yeah, of course you are. Just like everybody else. Just like everybody else. And there was something in me when I heard that talk that I had that landed really quite powerfully for me, because as a third girl child, an unwanted girl child, I could really recognize that longing to be noticed, to be special. And somewhere in that sense of like, of course you are, just like everyone else, I kind of thought maybe my job is to experience my own specialness and not keep waiting for other people to affirm that or ratify that, or didn't mean that I stopped, but I had the idea that this this might be some sort of a possibility. So it was really useful for me. And there's a line in Alice in Wonderland where they have a particularly and utterly pointless race, and at the end of it, the dodo declares, everybody has won and all must have prizes. And I was thinking about how often, if we don't think about sympathetic joy, we actually don't want everyone to have won, and we still want the prizes. It's kind of like it's really hard. And I'm always amused by this statistic, which is that about 91% of drivers think they're better than average. In the privacy of our own heads, we think we're special drivers. Because, of course, statistically it doesn't work. 91% can't be above average. But it kind of speaks to something about that for me, about just this need all the time. And I was struck by a piece I read recently in The Tricycle, where Jet Li, who is an actor I adore, he's a martial artist and actor in the kind of films I often enjoy. And he wrote, because he's been a Buddhist, a Tibetan, mostly Tibetan Buddhist, but he wrote, although my enthusiasm for Buddhism was genuine and my desire to be liberated from suffering was sincere, I still brought a lot of my old self-centered thinking to my early practice. I still wanted to be successful and powerful. Only now I wanted to be a special Buddhist rather than a special movie star. He was a special movie star. Essentially, I had tried to trade worldly hooks for spiritual ones. The Tibetan master Choyam Trungpa coined a term to describe this, spiritual materialism, and he defined it as a tendency of practitioners to use spiritual practices, beliefs and experiences to reinforce the ego rather than transcend it. This subtle form of self-deception can hinder genuine spiritual growth and give rise to a false sense of superiority. When I had previously been hooked by my desires for wealth and fame, now I was caught by seeking the most distinguished master and undergoing the rarest initiations. Something about that, we can transfer this need. When we were in the States, there was one of the aspects of practice was seeing the blue pearl, which was a kind of aspect that your kundalini was awakened, and and neither Josh nor I ever got to see blue pearl. We felt very northern, very English, because Americans were seeing it all over the place. But it was like, oh, they're having these special experiences. They're having special experiences of awakening. And we didn't have that. And as a psychotherapist, I've come to see how for many of us, the way that the specialness plays out is kind of not in that specially wonderful, but in the specially awful. We are most faithful to our sorrows. We can be very attached to being the most undeserving, the most hopeless, the most wrong. And we can be very attached to that idea of ourselves, so attached that Tara Brach coined the phrase the trance of unworthiness. We can live in that trance of unworthiness. And it's a pervasive state where individuals feel inherently flawed, amplifying self-blame and suffering, and it's a very isolating and disconnecting place. And it become our own version of specialness that we can be really, really reluctant to give up, and everyone else can have Buddha nature, but mine's so buried under my shameful behavior, my darkness, my essential wrongness, that it's really hard to just kind of go, there are no degrees of Buddha nature. We don't have more or less. We are the same as all the beings before us. There is no gauging Buddha nature. Oh, we can do it if we try. So that's kind of like, there's this being specially wonderful, being specially awful, and there's a kind of real tension, I think, for us in that. And so Joko Beck says, the everyday tedium of our lives is the desert we wander, looking for the promised land. Our relationships, our work, and all the little necessary tasks we don't want to do are all the 268 gift. It's one of her phrases. We have to brush our teeth. We have to buy groceries. We have to do the laundry. We have to balance our checkbook. This tedium, this wandering in the desert, is in fact the face of God. Our struggles, the partner who drives us crazy, the report we don't want to write, these are the promised land. These are our very special, ordinary life. And from the Mumun Khan on case 18, Joshua asked Nansen, what's the way? Ordinary mind is the way, Nansen replied. It's our ordinariness and our singularity that is the gift that we bring into the world, and it's the path we tread to awakening. Joko Beck says, the point of our lives, as Stephen Levine says, is to fulfill that which we were born for, to heal into life, to heal into life. And I would say to heal into our lives, the very lives we've got. And she says that means to heal out of the pain of our personal, separate, constricted I want into openness. The point of our lives is to be openness itself, which is joy. And joy includes suffering, happiness, and everything that is. It's kind of embracing our very ordinariness that's the gateway to the immense gift that we have of life. You know, we have the capacity to be with our basic goodness, with untouched awareness that doesn't belong to anyone or anything and has no special quality. There's a different kind of specialness to being alive, fully alive, just here, just exactly as we are. And there's a quote from Zen Master Lin Chi. When it's time to get dressed, put on your clothes. When you must walk, then walk. When you must sit, then sit. Just be your ordinary self in ordinary life, unconcerned in seeking for Buddhahood. When you're tired, lie down. The fool will laugh at you, but the wise man will understand. If you live the sacred and despise the ordinary, you are still holding on to delusion. If you despise the ordinary, you're holding on to delusion. Just be ordinary and nothing special. Eat your food, move your bowels, pass water, and when you're tired, lie down. The ignorant will laugh at you, but the wise will understand. Just live our lives in the extraordinary kind of special ordinariness that we all inhabit. And then I came across this little tiny blessing, and I don't know where it's from. I have too many notes. I don't know. I couldn't find where it was from. And it is, may my need for being special deepen into the acceptance that, like everyone else, I am. May my need for being special deepen into the acceptance that, like everyone else, I am. So I love to be with you and explore if there's anything about that that resonates for you, whether there's anything about whichever end of being special, and maybe both, we're kind of occupying. Or if there's anything else you'd like to meet about, be delighted to meet with you. Okay. Jan and Claudine, I see. Hi, Jan.
Hi, Trudy. My heart's pounding. Just take a moment to breathe.
Sure.
Um, there were many points in your talk that resonated. I think I've had a long journey with my relationship to specialness. I remember yearning. Oh my God, do I remember yearning? And mostly I achieved it through being difficult, through being obstructive, by being picky,
Mm.
challenging. So yeah, I was special because I was the only one who was challenging.
Mm. You kind of gave yourself a special role.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was the only one who hit her back.
Mm.
Dead proud of that. Yeah. So yeah, it carried forth into the rest of my life as you describe.
Mm.
Doesn't go away.
No.
Mm. Really aware of that part of me, the try hard part of me that knows. Yeah, I'm much more aware of it now. Seeking that validation, approval.
And it's so painful, isn't it? Because it's not entirely satiable even when you get it.
Yeah, it's not. It's like food, isn't it? You get up each day and you need more of it. It's not like it's satisfied. Oh, right, I've done that for life now.
Yeah,
You
eating my
get up the following
breakfast.
day. Yeah, I get up the following day,
Yeah.
and then it starts all over again.
Yeah.
It's never satisfied.
Yeah.
So there's something very freeing about being special in ordinariness.
Mm.
If I can really feel it.
Yeah. So just special because you happen to have this body in this life
Yeah,
in this moment,
yeah, yeah,
which is an
yeah,
unimaginable gift to be,
yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah,
to
yeah,
be here.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of special in my uniqueness,
Yeah.
but not special above others. This feels really, really important.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it's a specialness that does not raise me above a lot of us.
Well, it touches you to say it.
Does
Yeah.
because I think that's what I felt I needed.
Yeah. So specialness that separates as
Yes.
opposed to
Yeah. Yeah.
specialness that is like, may I just recognize we're all special,
Yeah.
differently, differently,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm one of millions.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. and the freedom can come there in that I don't have to be excellent at something. I don't have to shine. I don't have to be superlative at something. I can just be good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you are.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can feel that good enough is good enough.
Yeah.
There was a time when the idea of good enough was not good enough. What do you mean good enough? Good enough just felt like mediocre.
Yeah. Like a cop-out or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can see your
Yeah. Disgruntled. Yeah.
disgust with the idea of good
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now, good enough.
We're good enough and good enough with my flaws.
Yeah.
Special with my flaws.
Yeah. Yeah.
Feels really important right now
Yeah.
as I go through some really difficult times with my daughter.
Yeah. I can feel you really wanting to let that be. Let it be.
Yeah. Feels like there's something important. It's like a confession that I'm a flawed mother.
Yeah. And that's okay. I'm not specially flawed either.
No. No. And it was good enough parenting and flawed.
Yeah. Both can be true.
Yeah. It was really really valuable. To just really connect with this because I've been bustling along, emotionally detached from the pain.
Yeah.
So thank you for the space.
Yeah.
Thank you for the acceptance.
Mm.
Thank you for your love.
Thank you for being here. Mm. Claudine.
Trudy, and lots of love for you, Jan. I felt so strongly your words. Your talk resonated so much with me too. And I know this shame of wanting to to be special and wanting to be chosen. Yeah,
Me too.
yeah. Maybe all of us in a certain quantity, sure. And it resonated very much for me when you said, if you ask, am I special? As the person will say, of course you are, like everybody else. And it happened once that I felt really special for somebody. And I'm sure this person would have said exactly that. But I entered a notion of delusion. And I'm out of it. But what I understood from during your talk and Jan's words, there is a part in me that is still grieving this need of being special. A part is okay to let it go, and the part is not quite ready to let go the need of being special. Not for for a determined person, no, just the feeling.
Yeah. And I think it's a deeply human. We are social animals. We need to be looked at with love.
Yeah.
It isn't, there's nothing wrong.
Yes, that's true. I was thinking of this song from Bette Midler, The Rose, and this hunger to be seen, this aching hunger. But I didn't know it was so alive in me. Thanks to your talk, I realized that it could very easily turn into a pain.
Yeah.
And it's also a joy in some respect, because it's a need to love and to be loved, but also to love and to see how special are the others.
Yeah.
Thank you for this gift.
You're so welcome, and I'm so touched that you did that, because it's like, yeah, we can hold ourselves in this. It's okay.
Yeah.
Just means we're human and we love and we want to be loved. Thank you, Claudine.
Thank you, Trudy. Thank you, all of you who are there.
All these gorgeous people. Hi, Joel.
Hi, Trudy. Thank you so much for this. And thank you to Jan and to Claudine for their reflections, which were just perfect. I wanted to add something. I have had, I put something up in the chat, a quote from the Auden poem, September 1, 1939, which I've quoted from a lot in inquiry over the last couple of years. But he says that the error bred in the bone of each woman and each man craves what it cannot have, not universal love, but to be loved alone. I think that speaks to what you were describing.
Perfect.
Yeah. What I wanted to reflect on in my life is a feeling of precariousness that I've carried with me, I think, since very early days, and that despite despite several disastrous relationships in my teens and early 20s that didn't work out how I wanted, and where I was very explicitly rejected. Um, I, I, I always had a sense, oh, well, maybe I'll be lucky next time, in personal relationships. But then in my working life, as a writer, as a magazine editor, and then as a fundraiser, I was driven by a sense of precariousness and the sense that I could never do enough. I mean, particularly as a fundraiser, one can never do enough. People,
That's just true.
it's just true. People, and there will be consequences if you don't succeed, that will ripple out from you to other people. So it was that sense of precariousness was very strong. And then I finally saw the movie Glengarry Glen Ross. Have you ever seen that David Mamet play or movie? It is so, I mean, for me, I can barely think of it. It is so stark about the demands of the work world, that you have to sacrifice every.
Yeah.
I never felt that I had to sacrifice a moral sense to be a good fundraiser. But nevertheless, the sense that one was always being measured, and that they measured against others, and that others had some sort of capacity that I could never find, and that whatever success I had was just by accident. That was very, very strong with me, and it led to, I don't know. I mean, I was really glad to retire. I'll say that. I was glad not to have that pressure on me, and to be able to move into a different phase of my life. But um, I, I just, I wonder, I wonder if you have felt in your work life or elsewhere this sense of precariousness, that it could all end right now. And I'm thinking Flint has quoted, I think, from some other authority that he draws on, the statement of what people express as needs. Do you see me? Do you choose me? Will you stay? Is the version that I remember. Is that how you recall it?
Yeah. Do you see me? Do you get me? Do you choose me? Is the version I
Do you
know.
get me? Okay, that's
Yeah.
it.
So it's
So
like,
you, yeah. So and um,
yeah.
but that seems, of course, in this life when people are going to die, and you're going to die, right? And I'm going to die, I should say.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to die too.
Yeah. Um, that's enough precariousness for anybody for all time.
Yeah.
And yet it plays out in this social need that we have as animals
Mm.
to be under, not only seen, but as you say, the middle part is what I forget. Do you get me?
You get me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then essentially, will you stay? Will you choose me?
Yeah.
Even though you see what I am, will you choose me?
Yeah.
And so what I wanted to ask was, for you in your life, have you had that sense of precariousness
I,
that
I
is
was I
so
was
important?
loving that word. I was kind of thinking, oh, that's a really interesting word to be using around it. Have I ever, I have to translate because I don't know that I have it sitting in me in terms of precariousness, but um, can I do this? Am I good enough?
Mm,
Uh, and interestingly, the answer, of course, is of course I felt that many times on many occasions. And the most painful place I feel it is as a parent.
mm, Mhm.
So the other stuff, my work matters to me hugely. The people I work with matter to me hugely. But parenting is where I feel my deepest inadequacy
Mm.
and the deepest precarity of good enoughness.
Mhm.
And that's certainly been the most challenging arena for me. Um, yeah. So, and I think because it probably matters the most in
Mhm.
some way. So there's something about that. And finding a place where I kind of truly know I've done what I can with the resources that I've had, and um, I'll keep doing what I can with the resources I've got. And sometimes it'll be okay, and sometimes it won't.
Mm. I was going to say that now in retirement and in my later life, that is the personal the difficulties of personal relationships have come to the fore again. And I've talked before in inquiry about my relationship with siblings, particularly my older brother, and
Yeah.
with my son as well. And that I feel very deeply all the mistakes I've made in dealing with him. And I mean, I'm having an image of standing on a ledge with no possibility of moving without disaster.
Mm.
I mean, next,
Mm.
and and that like that. Um, so okay, well, that's I think that's what I
Narrow
really needed
foothold.
to say. That's what I really needed to say. Thank you
Yeah,
so
and
much.
I
This,
was just thinking what I would love to have for you is like a window you can get back in the building or a really good thick mat underneath. And like you
yeah,
could fall and be caught. You could fall and be caught.
yeah, and to me, in the relationship that I'm thinking of with my son, I'm just thinking, okay, I could fall and be caught. I could make a mistake. I could make another mistake and still have a chance for us to be happy.
Absolutely.
Mm. Thank you.
Yeah.
What a wonderful space you hold, Trudy. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mm. Mm. We have time. Say hello.
Yeah, I know there's not much time, so I'll make it quick. But my first impulse was I wanted to offer you this.
Now I feel special.
Yay! And I also struggle with the idea of good enough. So at one point I was cleaning someplace and I came up with the idea of better enough instead of good enough, because you're right, good enough seemed like settling, but better enough meant I put my effort into it. And I love it. So I think of better enough. And then very quickly, I'm a twin. And so being chosen
Yeah.
is like really big. Like we were special, but I didn't have anything to do with that. That was a freak of nature, right?
Yeah.
But I wanted to be chosen, and I realized when you said you are special like everyone else, I realized this change from being chosen and pushing everyone, like my twin, away
Yeah.
to opening my arms to everyone.
Yeah.
And what a relief.
Okay.
It's just so thank you so much for everything you offered. There's so many other threads, but it's so healing.
I'm
So
really glad
thank you.
to. And I have
Thank
twin
you.
grandsons, and honestly, I can see their need to be
Mm-hmm.
chosen
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you have a more spacious openness about it. You're doing
Thank
better.
you. I am. Yeah. Better enough.
Better enough. Thank you. So, just put you all back on gallery view so I can just spend a little time with everyone before we end. Thank you all for being here and thank you for your practice. So let's end together with the 4 practice principles. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way.